I'm getting heartburn like a motherfucker right now. I feel like I'm gonna throw up or something. Hey everyone, Jillian Rogue here, and I have not done a video in a very long time, so I do apologize for that. I just started college actually, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I've been like very, very busy, like getting into the swing of things again and doing college and all that fun stuff. Lucha Underground just came out. So excited. Lucha Underground finally is back. And that's the main thing I want to discuss. What I really love about Lucha Underground is just the fact that anyone could win at any time. I think that's so cool. I'm sure all of you have seen my video on reasons why Lucha is better than WWE. And one big reason for me is that WWE has jobbers. Lucha really doesn't have jobbers, and I think that's awesome. Literally, anyone could win at any time. You never know what's going to happen. And I think their first episode of the season really showed that, because a lot of really unexpected things happened. I mean, who thought, first of all, a girl getting a title shot is awesome. That's fucking awesome. I've been seeing a lot of hate from people like regarding Lucha Underground. So much hate. There's like all these little WWE marks and apparently TNA marks who hate Lucha Underground. Like, these people hate it. And there's not very many of them. I've only seen probably like about 5 who like really hate it. I've seen maybe like 10 who respect it, but it's just not their cup of tea, and those people, fine, cool, whatever. But the ones who hate it, like, how could you say you love wrestling and then they give you something that is just amazing, diehard wrestling, and yet you hate it? That blows my mind. Does not make any sense to me at all. So, yeah. And one of these people I saw a post from today was basically saying how they hate how they have guys wrestling girls, and any guy who loses to a girl they would lose respect for. And they also hate it because it's unrealistic. So to those people, I would just like to point out, first of all, wrestling isn't real. I try to avoid the use of the F word, but it's not real. It's, choreographed, it's predetermined. So if a guy loses to a girl, like, I don't get why you would lose respect for him when he didn't actually lose to a girl, first of all. Second of all, I cannot say how extremely sexist that is. And thirdly, it's unrealistic. Why? Why is it unrealistic? Usually what they say is it's unrealistic because the girl is so much smaller. But my thing is, big versus small is the most classic concept in wrestling. Ever since wrestling begun, the biggest concept match they've had is the little guy versus the big guy, the David versus the Goliath. They've always had that, always. So to say it's unrealistic because she's smaller really doesn't make any sense to me at all, especially like once you figure in, well, like, they always do that with men. So what is the difference? Just that it's literally just that she's a girl. That's literally the only difference. And if it was big versus small and they were both men, it would then be okay. But since it's big versus small and the small one's a woman, it's not okay. So it's literally the only reason is because she's a woman. People tend to think that if you're a woman, you can't have like the skill set that a man has. You're not as strong as a man, and therefore it's, scientifically not equal or whatever. But first of all, this is wrestling. Like, the point of wrestling is to, be out of the box and shock people and do things that actual sports events wouldn't do. So, like, having a woman wrestle a man, because it's all about breaking rules that, in other sports wouldn't be okay to do. This isn't boxing. There's no weight classes. This is, wrestling. So it's literally like, what if it was Kong versus Spud, or Kong versus Awesome Kong versus Hornswoggle or something? Would people be okay with it then? But because it's a girl versus a guy and the girl's not big, I don't know. It just really bothers me. I don't know how people could be that ignorant. Oh, by the way, don't you love this ring? Isn't this like an awesome ring? Yeah, it's cool. I want like the badass, how like what's her name? Alexa Bliss, I think it is. Is it Alexa Bliss? It's one of the chicks in NXT right now. I think it's Alexa Bliss. Has the ring that's like a Terminator hand. I want that so bad. So jealous of that she has that. This is like the closest thing I have to it, or at least like could find to it. But I love this, so yeah. Anyway, but I think it's awesome to have girls wrestling guys rather than just seeing girls wrestling girls all the time. It's something different, first of all. Secondly, it brings a whole different dynamic to the match. I don't care whether the girl's heel or not. The girl is, at that point, you have like the men who want to protect her, and she's like the damsel in distress. And also on top of that, it just shows that wrestling should be universal. Wrestling should transcend through gender. It shouldn't matter whether you're a guy or a girl. As long as you have that love of wrestling and you are a wrestler, you should be able to wrestle. Not like in WWE where they have the divas and they water them the hell down and they can't even, like use chairs or tables or do anything a guy does. They can't even have like the same length matches as the men. So to have men wrestle women, that's saying we're completely equal, like completely. And I just think that's awesome. The other thing I'm hearing a lot is that Lucha Underground's like shock value is like they have too much shock value. It's all dependent on shock value. And again, that's what wrestling is. Wrestling is supposed to be shock value. When I think of wrestling from like the 90s and stuff, I think of shock value. I think of, people shocking you by breaking the rules and doing things they're not supposed to and getting fucking crazy as hell in the ring and, doing shit like that. That's wrestling. That's, like the epitome of wrestling. But when Lucha Underground does it, it's too much shock value. Is shock value not entertaining? So, to quote Sheamus, are you not entertained when there's shock value? And isn't that the point of watching wrestling? And then another thing I hear is basically that Lucha Underground is too unrealistic in their promos, that their promos are too corny, basically. And this is probably the biggest complaint about Lucha Underground that I hear. And let me just say, like, first of all, is WWE not corny? You can't really say WWE is not corny. I mean, look at Lana versus Rusev. Look at pretty much every gimmick and every feud and every storyline ever put out by WWE. They've all been corny as hell. And not just corny as hell, but most of them don't make sense. Most of them have no like continuation or whatever it's called. I just totally like forgot that word. They're not like constant. They don't make sense with the rest of what's going on. But so that's why I'm like, at least Lucha Underground, not only every time do they bring out a storyline does it make sense, it makes like perfect sense. All their gimmick matches make sense. They never, put a match out there just to put a match out there. They all make sense. They're all, go with each other. I can't remember that word. And they might be, a little over the top in their promos, but that's Robert Rodriguez's style, and that's a cool style, I think. And I look at it in a humorous way, like when they have like the little cheesy one-liner. I think that's hilarious. That makes me laugh, so it's entertaining. And I don't see how these people watch that and they just don't get the humor of it, and they just, like assume it's just like, I don't know, like meant to be serious or something. I don't know. So, and the other thing is though, like, most people that I've seen that don't like Lucha Underground, again, like I said, their reason for not liking it is that it's corny and like the promos are too corny or whatever the fuck. But the thing is though, like, and it just blows my mind. Like, Lucha Underground has so much talent. So much talent. You have these guys who are obviously hungry, and they obviously are willing to, work their asses off and do what it takes to, be good at what they love. And they obviously really love wrestling, and they're awesome in the ring. They have great in-ring psychology. All of them can wrestle their asses off. All of them do things in the ring and do it for longer than anyone on WWE. I don't mean longer like they've been wrestling longer in their life, but I mean longer like the matches are longer. They've had like, whole hour-long matches before. And these people just ignore all of that just because they don't like the promo style. But you're supposed to be, like, you can't hate this whole promotion just because you don't like the promo style. It's not even that you don't like the promos, you just don't like the style. But look at all the talent that you're missing out on. You're supposed to be a wrestling fan. So you're supposed to be looking at the wrestling, first of all. Secondly, theatrics are just, a part of wrestling. Wrestling is theatrics. Theatrics are wrestling. How do you call yourself a wrestling fan? Like, if you're ignoring all this great wrestling, I just don't get it. Like, if you're a wrestling fan, you at least respect the wrestling in ROH. You at least respect the wrestling in TNA. You at least respect, like, the little indie local wrestling. You at least respect the wrestling in Lucha Underground. You respect the wrestling in WWE. Even if you're not happy with what they're putting out, even if it's not entertaining to you at the moment, and even if, it's something you can't get into, you still respect that wrestling. So to go off and saying, like, you hate Lucha Underground and make fun of it and all that stupid shit just because you don't like the promo style, you're ignoring all this hardcore wrestling. So how do you call yourself a true diehard wrestling fan when you do that? It makes no sense. And so many people are probably going to leave me stupid ass comments because I said that. Watch, I'm going to be attacked now because I like that. But guess what? I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, WWE Network. Like, I really thought, like, I had so much more to say, and now I have no idea what it was. Of course. Okay, yeah, I guess that's it. So, that's all for now. Have fun, IWC, and try not to be too much of Marks. Or whatever. Be dumb, yeah. 'Cause you're gay, like your mom. Your mom. Your mom. Your mom.